Good morning, everybody. My name is Peter Bruck. I'm the chairman of the WSA Board of Directors, and I'm absolutely delighted that you're all here now from around the world. We have a topic this morning which is really, key to the transformation in terms of digital societies, and that is how to connect for impact. And if we have, as we had over the last 2 days of the World Summit, the World Global Congress, the opportunity to focus in on one of the key content areas or continents, the content regions of WSA. And here we have a content region which is Asia and Oceania. To start off, I have asked a number of people who are on the board of directors just to give us a little perspective from their side. Why? Because WSA lives and creates its value through the many different kind of perspectives people have who are working in various different kind of countries, either in Indonesia or in India or in China or in Vietnam, in Cambodia or in Sri Lanka. And that is something which is so unique about WSA. Thus, the topic which we have this morning is diversity, high-tech, access, Agritech, climate change, and the potential of rising markets. This is a very broad topic, but we want to center it, we want to focus it on the personal experiences and competences and the initiatives and works which people do. So let me ask first our board member, Shinta from Indonesia. She works in Jakarta. Shinta, are you part of this call now?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, please then just take off and give us your own personal perspective on the topics regarding especially Connect for Impact. Please, Shinta.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honored and excited to be here. I'm here in Indonesia now. It's about 3:10 p.m. in the afternoon. So hello, everyone. So I'm Shinta. I'm CEO and founder of Bubu.com. We're venture builders now. And I myself is an angel investor, and I mentor a number of tech startups here in the country, and some also globally. So a bit about Indonesia. Indonesia is positioned strategically in Southeast Asia region, of course, and it's a huge area covered between 2 oceans, and it's the jumping point between 2 continents, basically. And we're about 17,000 islands, 5 major islands, and that means the country is super diverse, and it's almost impossible to have equal access for everybody without the power of technology. So I think internet, technology, digital is just how we have to solve this 17,000 island connection. And I started my first company in 1996, so I've seen how it it grew because of the technology of the digital as well. And the internet economy of Indonesia is the biggest in Southeast Asia, basically. We're valued at $44 billion US, and the only country with double-digit growth in 2020, with about 11% year-on-year growth. So, so we actually grew during the COVID, and a lot of digital new users, because we are forced because of this COVID situation. And the internet penetration is actually providing equal access for a lot of Indonesians, driving the growth of SMEs. For instance, Indonesia has about 3.8 million SMEs that have gone digital, and it's incorporated also by the government. And while there's even bigger potential for those who haven't been registered, our biggest marketplace right now, one of the biggest one, is Tokopedia, which is the second most valued tech companies. They onboarded about 2.5 million new merchants just in 2020, compared to the total of 7 million within 10 years. So, for some reason, this COVID has pushed Indonesia to go further into the digital era. And because I myself is an angel investor, and we have this startup platform called startupindonesia.co. So we see the amount of investment of the tech startup also growing. For instance, the PC assets rose about 15.9% year on year to about 1.3 billion US dollar in 2020. So it's quite a big number. And moreover, Indonesia is probably the biggest share of fundraising deals in Southeast Asia. It's about 45.8% goes to Indonesia in total with the Southeast Asia. But without collaboration and regional cooperation, Indonesia's growth would be impossible. Because I see Southeast Asia as a region united, and we believe that we can stand stronger, as a united economy, especially with cross-border businesses. Transaction, that's what more important, I think, in the coming years. And all countries in the region have different strengths and advantages, and I believe that we can stand together and collaborate, Southeast Asia and also other regions, to become the future global. So that's just a bit from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shinta. That's wonderful that you give us a very global view. Let me just ask you one thing. Pick out from the many different kind of angel investments which you have, the one where you see that the social impact is the most visible, the most measurable. Can you just relate this to us as well?
Okay, so I've been mentoring this one startup. It's called Jatin. Jatin means tailoring. So this it's founded by a girl. So she actually, what she did is, there's a lot of tailors or people that they're sewing all over Indonesia. It's mostly women. About 90% are women. So what she does is she created a platform for these tailors, and she also building the ecosystem for the vendors, for the materials, for the sewers, for the all ecosystem that's needed for a fashion industry. So what she put in everybody in that platform, and it has helped a lot of women who are even working from home. They were able to actually sew from home and create business, and actually it grew like 100% even during COVID. So I think that's one of the startup that I think has a social impact. It's also helped a number of, because in Indonesia we have a lot of these materials that are made by woven by hand, and so she also educated the woven the people who created all this woven material to actually save all the materials and create other, so they don't throw like leftover materials, and you can create other small things. So she actually does a lot of going around the different islands in Indonesia and educate about the different ways to actually create business and be green at the same time. So that's one of the startups that I think has a great social impact. It's called Jatin, which means tailoring. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Shinta, for sharing this with us. I mean, that's a highly imaginative, and everybody, I think, who is part of this session now might right away think about how he or she can use that. That's great. Thank you very much also for showing how digital can enable crafts, handicrafts, especially when you free people from, let's say, a blocking intermediary and middleman. So that is something which is definitely important. The second person whom I asked to be introducing our panel is also from the board of directors of WSA, and he's from China. He's our most eminent expert. He lives in Hong Kong. He is very prominent in terms of the entire development in the Pearl Delta, and I'm very happy that he was also bringing up IPOA from Hong Kong by his past presidency. It's Witman Hong. Witman, please share with us your thoughts and your input at the beginning of this panel.
Witman, we can't hear you.
Sorry. Let me begin again. Professor, I am delighted to be able to share. I just came back from our National Congress meeting about 2 weeks ago from Beijing. And then, of course, can share with you some of these information. China have gone through obviously a very remarkable year last year. The pandemic was causing a lot of problems, but we still managed to have a 2.3% growth on GDP. But what is more important is on the number one SDG, poverty. Okay, after 8 years of hard work, China had basically relieved all our poverty. I mean, of course, there's also a definition of how much money you make annually to be classified as poverty. But it is important, I think, some lessons to learn as well. I mean, China had been elevating, people from poverty ever since its opening and reform 40 years ago, were hundreds of millions. But at the last time, about 2012, we have concluded that there were still 99 million people who are under the poverty line, but they are scattered around and there are different reasons. So there was a term defined called precise poverty relief. Okay, so need to be precise. How do we, in a population of 1.4 billion people, okay, how do we, how do we solve their problems? And it is called precise poverty relief, and there are various roles, various means such as teaching them how to grow a different kind of crops or building a road. But also important and related to WSA is the utilizing of electronic platforms to help those people, and the subsequent logistic arrangement. There was a ceremony to celebrate this completion of this poverty relief in, I think, February, of which the President Xi Jinping had given a prize to Alibaba. Why? Because in 8 years, Alibaba's agriculture platform had sold 1 trillion Hong Kong renminbi, okay, of agricultural products. They have also trained more than 10 million what they call village KOLs. Okay, many of them women who are from the villages, from the rural areas, and sell their own products online using this kind of video and KOL and short messaging platform. So I think that is a very good lesson to learn, is that by using technology and content and the obviously related like logistic arrangement, China was able to help to relieve that that almost 99 million people from poverty. So of course, this is not the end. I mean these people are just barely just above the poverty line. So there are a lot of more new improvement. The Chinese government will be investing a lot and encouraging the business to invest in what we call new infrastructure. That includes artificial intelligence, 5G communication network, big data platforms for industries, industrial internet, as well as high-speed rail and ultra high voltage electric transmission. So all these is going to change our infrastructure so that it's more geared towards the future, and hopefully we're also creating a new way of consumption where it's a mix of online and offline, and that will be the new, basically the new model, new normal of China, where we can have both online and offline, and there will be increased domestic consumption. Of course, there will be a lot of new technology investment as well by the government, especially in areas where we have basically supply chain deficiencies because of these recent geopolitical struggles among some of China's business partners in the past. So that said, I think I'm positive that China is on the way of actually utilizing technology to help its people to be, happier, wealthier, and safer. And secondly is to improve the efficiency and transparency of the government. So I think that's kind of set the scene of what's happening in China, and that also will affect, I think, basically the Asia region. Nora was asking me about what I'm doing right now, and I think I'm just glad to just very short report. I started this Zebra Star Accelerator based on what I learned from WSA 3 years ago, 2018 in Ghana, and I'm glad to report we open our office in June last year, and now we already have 27 startup teams in our accelerator, ranging from IC design to robots that cleans the wall, to intelligent toilets, to some also medicine, biomedicine stuff. So it's really very exciting. It's not easy. I have spent a lot of my own money into it, but it's promising, and it's so glad to to see the Zebra concept to be put into action instead of just in a PowerPoint. And I'm pushing that idea, hopefully through the success of our accelerator, towards more and more of the investment and startup community in my region, of which mostly within my friends circle. That ends my report.
Thank you very much, Witman. For all those who are not part of our, let's say, discourse so easily, just explain very briefly what's the difference between a unicorn on the one hand and a zebra on the other hand.
Yes, sir. A zebra is both black and white. It's both old economy and new economy. They come in herds, they help each other, and they're sustainable. And most importantly, zebras are real animals. I've met them many times. I've never seen a unicorn in my life. And to that extent, what we have observed is some unicorns are good, but there are also some other unicorns who build their success based on disruptive technology, which is all right, but they also disrupted the traditional businesses and employment. Therefore, it's our belief that zebras is more sustainable and important to the development and mutual development of people.
Thank you very much. I think what you outlined is that with Zebra and with the innovation with Zebra coming from California and from a women's network, actually, we have a different kind of concept also within WSA for kind of impact investment. Now, let's look at one of the case studies, or what we call also impact stories. An impact story is a story where a person tells very much from his own perspective, how they did it, what motivated them, what came into being, and how did it all work out. And here we have a winner from 2018, and it's from Pakistan. Raaji, and is the project or the initiative. And I say hello to Saba Khalid. Saba, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Peter. Really excited to be here.
Just tell us your impact story. We are all very, very interested in what you do, how it came about, and where you're going. Please.
Awesome. So I started off in 2018 with this idea that my country, which is Pakistan, is highly populated. There are a lot of gender issues that the world knows about, and they seem to be, I would say, increasing every year. We have a great gender inequality problem. Abortion rates in the country were really high. Population growth rate was really high. Contraceptive usage was really, really low. And these were frightening, I would say, statistics for me. And somebody who's young and uses digital technology, I knew that, one solution could be providing women and girls with the kind of content that could change their lives and really change their trajectory when it comes to their health. And so we kind of did a prototype, and we put something together which was called Raaji, and it was a chatbot that provided girls with information about reproductive health. Within the country, when we built this, we thought immediately, oh my God, everyone is going to start using it, and it's going to have a huge impact. And surprisingly enough, it had very few downloads, and it also wasn't recognized or thought of as an innovation within the country. And this was really disappointing for me. However, we had at that time a lot of experts or mentors who suggested to us that, why don't you apply this particular innovation and see whether this could be something that could be scaled, this could be something that could be marketed, this could change and alter and become something more with time. And so we actually submitted our application for WSA, and we had a very interesting journey where first we were nominated locally, and we went to the next stage. Then we were actually selected as a winner and invited to Lisbon to receive Portugal to receive an award. And not only did we receive an award, we were also selected as a global winner in our entire learning and education category. So for me, from that, not being sure of whether this innovation could really grow to getting there was a journey on its own. However, from that particular stage moment in Portugal, immediately back home, it started like a domino effect. It started opening doors for us. Everyone knew who we were and what we were doing, and this led to a lot of interest from NGOs that wanted to use our application. It led to a lot of various grant opportunities. Right after, we won MIT Solve, which was another global opportunity. We won funding from BMW Foundation, from Roddenberry Foundation, and so it allowed me to actually build a better version of the product that I was building. I was able to take it and test it and pilot it, and so this was for me really something that I feel that WSA had a huge impact on our journey. However, it didn't end there, because at the end of 2019, we were invited as a jury member. I was invited as a jury member. And I remember at WSA in Tunisia, I was one of the youngest jury members, and I was so unsure and having this imposter syndrome that am I really the right person to make a comment about these innovations that are coming from around the world. And I remember just being around these jury members and reading the applications of all the innovations that were being built around the world. It was literally like getting a master's degree in social innovation, just those 3-4 days. So I really enjoyed that. And then after 2019, when we went back and we were trying to scale, COVID happened. And that's again when I reached out to a lot of mentors within the WSA local network and international network, and I shared that, look, I'm lost. How do we kind of pivot? What do we come up with? How do we deal with this situation? And so that's again somewhere that I went for advice, and I was really lucky that we were able to pivot in a way that this particular year we've made so much progress. This year alone, we've signed 10 financial and non-financial MOUs with a lot of NGOs, with schools where our product is being used, with technology consulting companies. We've won various competitions. I'm actually in an accelerator for the first Femtech lab, which has started in Europe. And fortunately enough, I also partnered with another WSA winner from Pakistan. Her name is Tanzila Khan, and she's going to be part of our later panel as well. And we started building a whole movement of reproductive health innovations. Hers is also reproductive health innovation, so we found like sisterhood in that. And so we've been working together, and we've really made a lot of progress, and we're creating locally, I would say, an ecosystem for innovation. And now we're also thinking that, the next few years, we want to be impact investors, because we don't have enough in the country. So I feel like, this really gave us the push that we needed to do the work that we wanted to do.
It's wonderful, and congratulations to your talent, to your ability, and also to your courage, because to go on such a travel and trajectory is just really something which does not call out your timidness, but exactly the opposite, your faith and also your hope into being able to manage. Let me ask you one question. Describe us a little bit, because everybody in this call wants to know how your product has changed. How does you, or how did this chatbot idea, this implementation, which was considered also for the World Summit Award Global Congress in Portugal in Cascais, Lisbon. How did it develop now? What do you add? Is it just more content, more functionalities? Is it a broader platform? Just give us an insight on how the product has developed, please.
Yeah, so when we started off, we wanted to solve every reproductive health problem in the world. And that was proven wrong, because at the time, the softwares and the technology that we were using, it wouldn't provide accuracy in solving every problem. So we had to find our niche. We had to see what problem had to be solved first. And so from all of reproductive health, we narrowed down to menstrual education. So just to give you a brief background, 79% of Pakistani girls do not manage their periods hygienically. And so this was alarming. We did more research into it. We dug deep, and we realized we had to find a niche, and we had to focus on that niche. So once we knew that, then we started also approaching a lot of menstrual companies within Pakistan and internationally. So then we kind of found sponsors. These sponsors helped us to go and pilot in classrooms. We also realized that technology alone does not work in Pakistan. So we not only have I would say a gender inequality problem, but we also have a gender divide, digital divide, which means that girls are less likely to have phones and laptops. That meant that we had to also design in a way that they could get access to technology, but also access to information, which meant that we would sometimes take digital devices into classrooms. And this meant that we also had to do a human and a bot-led approach. So, usually in the developed world, you put out an app and you put a lot of marketing money into it, and it's downloaded and people start using it. We had to actually, go into the classrooms. We had to get the teachers equipped with it, the parents, get the parents yes on it as well. Then it could go to the children. So for us, this was a whole journey in understanding that, digital innovations work very differently, I would say, in the developed world, and very differently in the developing world, where technology is still, there's problems with accessibility.
Thank you very much, Saba. I think it's not just that they work differently in different countries, but it's also very different in terms of the theme and the topic and the problem. Yeah. And as you know more well than everybody else around here, is that menstrual issues are very intimate and very personal issues. And to download an app on that is a very different one than just to download a gaming app or kind of adventure story or an e-commerce app. So that might play a role as well. And congratulations again. And I hope that the WSA community keeps on feeding you with good spirit and lots of energy to go on, and then see how other people can learn from it. Because what Shinta said at the very beginning, in terms of the tailoring and the women's app there is very similar. And in terms of the journey which such an enterprise has to take, a social enterprise, and how it develops. And I'm sure that when Witman listens to the zebras, ideas which you have, it's very, very helpful. Let us go on, and thank you again. And we move on to a number of different panelists who wish and who are able to share, so that we get a little bit still into a conversation and a discussion. I ask you to, in 2 or 3 minutes, to sum up where you are now, what you do, and how you view what we have been talking about so far. And the first one is I call on Rahat Hossein, who is a social entrepreneur and digital health expert from the other side of the Indian continent, from Bangladesh. And he is the winner, I understand, from 2015. Rahat, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Bruck. I'm Rahat from Bangladesh. Being selected as a winner in 2015 15, and for Critical Link, that organization that's I'm not part of it right now, but we moved to another organization. It's called Care. It's a technology-based new social enterprise that we launched recently that's focusing on preventive care for elderly people. So what we do here is that we connect them with the care coaches who goes to their houses and they teach how to elderly people to live their healthy lives. So it's a content of like they teach them how to do physical exercise. If they need a physiotherapy, they provide the physiotherapy, as well as they do basic health screening. So we exactly know what health condition our elders are. We're very excited to launch it in Bangladesh very recently. We've been getting some good response from the community. As well as for our technological part, it's being a COVID-19 is a huge shift in our healthcare system, especially for technological-based healthcare system out there. As you know, the telemedicine in Bangladesh introduced back in 1999, but it's reintroduced again by the hospitals and the private companies. And we, as a country, we're quite trying to be get better and trying up with some solution for the community through ICT. And we currently have 1,500 ICT companies in Bangladesh, and we'll be generating almost a $1 billion every year. We've been generating from 2017 because we'll be contributing to a lot, especially into North American IT solutions.
Thank you very much, Rahat. We are moving right away from Pakistan all the way to a little bit further east and much more further east. And we move from there right away to Korea, to South Korea. And we had last year a winner from South Korea, DOT, and DOT Incorporation. I say hello to Ahum Choi. Ahum, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me well?
We can hear you, and we can now see you as well. Great that you are part of this. Just tell us your story. What is the DOT doing? And you have a very innovative device, and you work very well with this. And it's also a very scalable project and product. Just go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. As a winner of 2020, DOT strived to create innovative technology for the disabled. In the beginning, based on the tactile cell we manufacture DOT Watch, the first Braille smartwatch, as you can all see. Next, we made a multi-layered tactile display, which is 2,400 cells. It provides not only text in Braille, but also any image, map, so that blind people can fill all the pictures at their fingertips. Especially under this COVID situation, we found that self-service kiosks are a perfect opportunity to improve the customer experience or increase profit, optimize space. However, it doesn't consider people with disability, especially the visually impaired. For them, it's just a glass. They cannot access any kind of information. With our tactile display showing Braille and image, we could come out with the Braille-free kiosk for the first time. It's not only for tactile information, but also sign language. And kiosk screen, it's going up and down when the people access the kiosk. People with a wheelchair can access the kiosk. So this, yes. Oh, okay. Can I continue?
Yes, you can.
Yes. So it is not only for the people with the disability. We target like the mobility handicapped, especially like transportation, bus stop, metro, or in public building. They can access and get an information in diverse way. So it's a sign language or like big fonts and for the foreign language, for the foreign visitors. So, so anywhere it can be utilized, and doing so in a manner that is accessible and citizen. It can be a solution for all, not only for some people, but all people living in the city. So now we launch in the Busan, the second largest city in Korea. And also we're gonna put this on other bus station and in train stations. So it's going to be scale up right now.
I have a question for you. Will you be part of tonight's gala event? Although, I mean, it would mean that you get up very early in the morning, but it might be very good for you and Dot Incorporation, because you will see that we have a winner from Qatar who is working very much along those lines, which you are saying, and who have really invented and innovated along the lines which you are describing regarding helping people who are visually impaired, especially with the Arabic language. And they have a very interesting AI solution. So if you are online tonight, you might see them, you might be able to connect with them. And if not, then just make sure that you are in touch with Nora and with Manuela.
It's all my pleasure. I can join even in like early in the morning.
Very good.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us now. And let's move on to the next story and talk to from Australia, staying even further east and this time south. Damian, are you here from Social Suite?
Yes, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, just tell us your story. It has rocked a lot of people what you're doing with Social Suite. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. So I'm the co-founder of Social Suite, calling in from Australia at the moment. It's 8 p.m. almost at night here. Social Suite's mission is to help all organisations to show the change they are making. And our vision is a world where every organisation has a positive impact. So that's whether you're a social enterprise, you're a not-for-profit, an NGO, a philanthropic foundation, a government, or even a company. So Social Suite's a technology platform that lets any organisation measure their impact. You essentially choose what kind of impact metrics you want to measure. You use our mobile app and surveys to collect that information from your stakeholders, beneficiaries, staff, etc. And you use the impact reports to show the change you're making, to understand it, to improve your programs, and to show it to funders to be able to get that precious funding for continuing your great mission and whatever it is you're doing. And we know that these starting these startups and these social enterprises and not-for-profits, like many of you are doing, is very difficult. And having the ability to prove your impact can be the difference between getting funding. And I know that back when we were the WSA winners last year in our category, we were in Austria, and that's when COVID first hit. And we were doing a funding round at the time. And it's amazing how all of a sudden that your potential investors start to change their minds a little bit when such an uncertain event happens in the world. And just wanted to let everyone know that the WSA sort of the feedback and attention we got around that win really helped us then continue to try and secure that funding over time. So it was a really positive experience. And the friends that we met at the conference, where we're still in touch with now, and even doing some business together across our organisation. So what we've really learnt at Social Suite, and just another note, Saba, I really sympathise with when you released your product initially and it didn't go off the shelves as fast as you thought. We had a similar situation about 6 or 7 years ago when we released the very first early version of Social Suite. We were discussing whether we should get another telephone line just in case too many people wanted to order it. It wasn't a problem at the end. So we also learnt that, really working and refining and using that funding, testing with your customers, finding out what they really want, talking to social enterprises, not-for-profits, figuring out what exactly it is that they want to use in a product and report. We've managed to develop over time now, and we have many clients now around the world using Social Suite. The exciting thing that I wanted to announce today is we've actually come up with a version of Social Suite. What we found out is that measuring impact and reporting impact can be very complicated if you make it complicated. But what a lot of smaller organizations can do, or organizations that aren't experienced, they can start now with Social Suite in a very, very easy to use on-ramp to get started, which we call Social Suite Grow. And our co-founder, Dr. Clara Ong, is actually doing a session, I believe, tomorrow with showing participants how to set up your first set of impact metrics specifically for your organization. She's going to talk you through how to do that. You can build your first set of metrics live under her guidance, and then you can get a 21-day trial of Grow to use, and you can get your first outcome reports that you can share. So it's going to be a very cool session. I highly recommend you join in. And yeah, we're very excited to be bringing this new version of Social Suite to the market that helps our mission to make impact measurement and reporting just completely accessible to any organization, no matter what the capability skill set is.
Thank you very much, Damian. I'm absolutely delighted to hear three things. First of all, you turned the attention of the global scale, global stage of WSA into something very tangible, and this kind of change of let's say the attention capital into a kind of really financial capital, that conversion is something very, very important, and that is something where the symbolic capital of WSA really needs to be enriched by you all staying involved in the network, because that gives it credibility. The second thing, which I think is very important also for diversity and the potential in rising markets and all the topics which you were talking about, and it's true for all social entrepreneurs, is this kind of iterative prototyping, this versioning, and to take the courage to stick with it and to listen to your customer and to work with the target groups you have. And that basically, gives, that's the third thought, gives a very different kind of concreteness to what we call the learning journey during WSA global conferences and events. And that's the reason why it's so important that we take the time to listen to each other, but also that I hope that next year we can meet again in person, because it works differently when you are in person, as you saw when you were in Vienna, I guess, and you did not get COVID for a change, although it was the 8th to the 11th of March last year. So thank you very much, Damian, for sharing this with us. We have, I think, one last one, and that comes from India, and it's Jatin. Jatin, are you here?
Yes.
Yes, Jatin, that's great. You were part of our youth network, and you're also an ambassador, I can understand. Tell us your story and how you have, personally, gotten involved with WSA, and also in terms of how to measure and also to look for impact. Please, Jatin.
Absolutely. So I remember when I was very young, I'm still young, but when I was pretty young at the time, in 2010, where I got introduced with the concept of open innovation and ID Accelerator and all. And typically I was alien when I was using those terminologies in my surrounding, in my network, in my country, and maybe in nearby countries as well. So that's how in 2010 I got into open innovation. Started working for a few years. I still remember one of our lead team member, Bistra, got in touch with the WSA, and then we were one of the winners for World Youth Summit Award in 2013. But to summarize it, it's been almost 12 years since I am active into innovation ecosystem. I kind of understand it much deeper. By far work with people from more than 40 countries, having networking in 100 plus countries, might have helped almost 4,000 plus startups across the world in smaller or a bigger way on an individual and organization capacity as well. And the initiative that we started, which was Challenge Youth, which kind of reached to almost 242 countries and territories. In fact, at that time, I was not even knowing that this many countries and territories are existing. So with time, just to give you a brief story, What I've realized that there is a gap in understanding the language of the modern world. So world was very well aware about the traditional way of doing business, but all the startup and innovation and funding and term sheet and accelerator was pretty new to the world. So there was a huge gap. So then what we did is we started identifying our own languages and started talking to people in that way. We call it a modern way eventually. And then I myself created 6 different identities, which is my city, my state, my country, South Asia, APEC, and the world. Because I was anyway working with a lot of organizations and a lot of people worldwide. In fact, right now as well, we are one of the think tank members for former Deputy Prime Minister of Slovenia for circular economy thing in European belt as well. We were one among the top 20 APEC ecosystem, startup ecosystem enabler for Techstars as well. So there is a huge list. I'm one among the 100 SAARC youth leaders too. So over the period of time, what we have deeply understood and realized, we somehow then eventually later on converted into a different vertical altogether. So what we are doing currently right now is that we have divided our entire initiative into 3 parts, which we call it InMeSta. And everything is into 2 vertical, people who are aware about the modern way of doing business and people who are not aware about modern way of doing business, or they are somewhat aware about the modern way of doing business. So we are divided into 2 parts. So people who knows, we started enrolling them, whether it's an investor or business influencers or startups. And on the other end of it, people who were not aware about it, we started doing know-how building into them with our know-how building programs. So when it comes to people who understand the investment, for an example, we do 3 kind of services, which is we do screening for them, we do scouting for them, and we do represent them into certain regions. Just to give an example, we are screening committee members for a lot of government of our state fund, government of India funds as well, and a few grants outside India. Also, we screen or scout for a lot of angel and VC funds as well. So we kind of somehow get into that game for people who knows about it. And then somebody who doesn't know, somebody who has a lot of money, somebody who are HNI, but they don't know the modern way, they don't know the term sheet, they don't know tag along, pre-post money, pre-money valuation, and participatory and non-participatory, all these terms. So we designed certain programs called converting HNI into a modern investor. Same way with the business influencers, same way with the startups. And we started doing a lot of awareness programs as well. I guess by now we might have touched almost 300,000 youth, helping them for their future, their dreams, their startups, their idea, in smaller or a bigger way across the world. So yeah, kind of becoming a larger way of helping people to understand the ecosystem, because many of people don't understand the ecosystem at large. And we always say that if a table is an ecosystem and all the chairs are ecosystem players, all the chair has to communicate with each other and has to be accessible to each other, and that each chair itself is an ecosystem at large, and eventually everybody needs to come to gather. And the more macro we become, the more global we become more fearless, become more open, and that is what I've realized in last 12 years. Work with a lot of government stuff, a lot of UN initiatives as well. Did a lot of innovation competitions for big and small organizations at large, helping a lot of incubator and accelerator to run it in a much better way. So yeah, all in all, and I can say in a very simple word to conclude with is that you name a country, we know somebody who is there in the country, and there is a 95% possibility that we might have met them. So that is the network that we carry, and then we are trying to help as much as we can. And somewhere, if a professional relationship can go further, we are always happy to do that.
Thank you very much, Jatin, for sharing this with us. What you identify is something which is really critical, which is that when you are inside, the kind of WSA space, you meet a lot of people who are already very proficient, if not professional, in terms of how to work with the technology, how to start up something, how to initiate a project, how to finish a project, how to prototype it, how to iterate it, and so on. But this is a very specific kind of mindset, and you point out also a very particular kind of language. I mean, that's what I was talking to Witman before, to show the difference between a unicorn and a zebra. The unicorn is this kind of Silicon Valley explosive global scaling, and the zebra is actually that where you are working with the impact on the ground and you iterate and innovate on that. So it's a very different kind of perspective on this. So that is something which is very important, and thank you very much for pointing this out, and also to help us, and maybe you will work with Manuela Wagner from our networking group in terms of onboarding more people, because this is something which you definitely can do well. WSA is very much like Witman was indicating, and also Shinta in their opening remarks, very much dedicated to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And that is not just something abstract, but it's something very concrete. And as Damian showed, measuring is part of the issue in terms of getting people to understand that the world can change. And when Witman talks about how in China poverty is being eliminated, this is a vision 20 years ago, nobody would even have believed it's possible. And that's something where we need to learn from each other. So my question then to everybody in this call and on this panel is now, how do you use, on the one hand, SDGs for your work? And how can we, as a result of our conversation today, report back to the United Nations and to the system how you are, in a very qualitative manner, help achieving a particular kind of sustainable development goal? So I'm asking this question now, first maybe to possibly Rahat. What is your thought on this? Rahat, did you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your question. It's a very, very important question, because it's very important that we have set for 2030 for SDGs goal after the Millennium Goals. And as we are in a country that we are becoming from the low middle income country to upper low middle income country, we become recently. So for SDG goals, what I believe is that it's a very collaborative achievements cannot be achieved by ourselves. And especially if we want to create impact in education or healthcare or gender inclusions, whichever the goals that we have for our prospective organization that we have in Bangladesh. Our government is very aligned with the goals, and we have a clear guidelines from the government how we've been actually pursuing our SDG goals. And to be honest, we've been reporting to the government, to the department that's responsible for these respective goals. If we are working on the healthcare, especially, we report to our healthcare ministry that what are the achievements that we have. And to be honest, the organizations, the social enterprises that we have in Bangladesh, we all align our activities, taking the goals, how we can achieve these goals in 10 years from now or 20 years from now, because this is very important for us to see how we are contributing to these goals, because this is something that's all of us as 178 countries are coming together to achieve these common goals. So for that, we are, as you mentioned, that how we can actually do the qualitative is that we've been keeping our records, and we've been formally reporting back to the government that this is the goal that we'll be achieving. And as well as we've been having policies changes around the SDG goals, and as well as the very constructive discussions where we are sharing what we have achieved and how we can achieve through other help. So this is how we've been doing that. So I hope that I answered the questions.
Thank you very much. I think that's what you are outlining is very key to establish this kind of contacts and also use your participation in the WSA network as a ticket to talk to people. I see that Saba is still in our call, and when you are looking at women's health issues, this is a very particular kind of sub-goal and also, I mean, large goal and possibly cutting across a number of different kind of SDGs. Saba, do you have from your side a reading in Pakistan? Does it carry any weight? In which way can you turn this into a currency of relevance of what you do, even to the larger, picture of Pakistan developing? Please.
Absolutely. So for me to start contributing and measuring how our work was aligning or tackling some of the SDG goals, I had to really understand what the SDG goals were. And this also started when I actually built the innovation. I did not have that background before. So when we kind of, what we do is for each project, we see what kind of SDGs we're impacting. And now we've started building a dashboard that, this particular project is contributing to these SDGs. How is it contributing? And unfortunately, we've shared this on our website. We've also shared it with the government and the people that we know within the stakeholders, but we haven't found that kind of interest locally. However, from the grants that we've received, we've always, shown how our projects are contributing, what kind of numbers we are impacting. They are far more interested than I would say the local ecosystem. I think this is still developing. Maybe it's early stages. However, Pakistan commits to meeting some of its goals, but however, there's no clear, I would say, language of reporting, no clear indicators that are set forth. And this is something as a country, we're all learning together. And COVID has impacted not only the country level, I would say SDGs, but also I would say all of the NGOs, all of the social enterprises, all of their work has been impacted. So I think right now we're still like I think Pakistan as a country is just right now, I would say, adapting.
Okay, thank you very much, Saba. That gives me a very, let's say, idea which I want to try out on Witman. Witman, do you have anything like a dashboard idea? Would you think you as a director of WSA that we as a global network should get involved in creating a SDG dashboard coalition where people can put their content-driven projects in, like for instance, Saba's or Rahat's or Damian's? Witman.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think it's a good idea. Of course, we need to, in this part of the world, I think Hong Kong is better, but if you go into mainland China, not everybody understands what SDG is. Okay? So, I think we need some education there, but then doing the dashboard itself actually helps to promote, right, and then make it visible. So, as I said, when China tried to eliminate poverty in 2012, they never referred to the SDG number 1. Okay, it's just that we have 90 million people under poverty line. We need to do something about it. As simple as that. I mean, same with things like literacy, same with things like women. But nevertheless, if we can show them what you're doing is A, there are many other people in this world that are doing similar things, maybe a different method. B, if you're successful, some of these cases can be as useful references for other places because we are trying to tackle the same problem. And that's where SDGs are for. So if we can do that and then try to promote the idea of a dashboard, the issue is not the dashboard. The issue is creating dashboard is technically not that difficult. The difficulty will be people are willing to submit what they do into a dashboard or to be shown in a dashboard.
Look, that is a very good point because we are now in 2021, so there's roughly 10 years to go. So if we are now thinking about WSA for the next 10 years, we can incorporate this also into our scheme in terms of all the nominees can be entered in there, as well as the winners of the last 5, 8, 10 years. And then we can basically see this in that regard. So would you want to be part of a working group on seeing if we should, how feasible it is, especially regarding what you were saying, that obviously a dashboard is only as good as, on the one hand, technology, but on the other hand, as the data are.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's try this out on the person who is the champion of measuring in terms of social impact, Damian. What do you think of this idea coming from Saba?
Yeah, it's very great idea. I'm sure everyone's aware that there's just no standard set of metrics for everyone to measure against. Accounting has been around for many years. Everyone knows how to do a P&L and a balance sheet if you've tried to start your own business. And even those aren't very comparable when you look at one company to another, because everyone can just put in their own expense categories and it all gets a bit difficult to compare. But it's better than what we've got for impact measurement. So what we've actually started thinking about and implementing is what we can compare is measuring your impact's not necessarily a technology challenge or a metrics challenge. A lot of it becomes a organizational challenge. So is your organization ready to measure impact? And what we've started looking at is we have like 60 or 70 organizations and we look at them all and many of them haven't even started having their metrics yet. So we would say, have you had a discussion internally about impact measurement? Yes, no. Have you considered what kind of off-the-shelf metrics you might use? Yes, no. Have you talked to your board about making a commitment to impact measurement? Yes, no. And every 3 months, we look at how far each organisation has progressed on that, and that's comparable because it doesn't matter if you're a disability services organisation, female health organisation, a aged care organisation. All of them have the same pathway to go from zero, we don't know what impact measurement is, to the organisational steps up to a point where you've actually chosen a technology platform, you've chosen a set of metrics, your staff have all come on the organisational journey to understand why are we collecting this data, why is it important, your funders are able to see it and appreciate why it's important, and that can take a year or 18 months. It's not something that happens in 4 weeks. So we call it a impact measurement organisational on-ramp, and that I think is what is the coolest thing to measure to start first, because then you can compare the pace at which organisations decide and actually implement impact measurement practice into their organisation, and that's comparable. And it can be, you can look at how fast a 5-person social enterprise is moving compared to a 300-person not-for-profit. And usually the social enterprise is faster because they can make the decisions, get the commitment, get everyone on board in 2 months, whereas a big not-for-profit takes 6 months before anyone's brave enough to table it at a board meeting. So that I think is probably where a lot of value could come in with all of the WSA participants past and future coming on. And then you can see things like, as an organisation, are we fast, slow or medium compared to other 10-person social enterprises? Have we moved quickly? Oh, hang on, wow, it looks like we're actually more advanced than we thought. Or it looks like, oh, wow, we're really slow because 60% of other organisations have already done these 7 steps And this is before you've even collected any impact data. This is all the preparation information. So that would be my comment and recommendation on how to tackle this that we found to be useful in a non-perfect comparison world at the moment.
Non-perfect, this is what we all share. This is the biggest basis for solidarity, to be aware of how non-perfect we are, especially when it comes to data, statistics, and measurements. But nonetheless, I understand that your business model in terms of social suite, what Saba said in terms of her own journey, what Witman was referring to in terms of his concept of giving zebras visibility through the accelerator, but also, giving them an ecosystem. And what also Rahat was saying, and Jatin, I think that this is something where we have connected for impact now in this panel over the last hour and a half. And maybe this is one of the most concrete outcomes and impact from our conversation. I want to thank you all. I want to thank especially also Shinta for coming on and giving this very interesting introduction into how thriving the digital innovation community is in Indonesia, how this has helped also the entire GDP in the country, but also how this has had a very clear social impact in terms of the textile. I want to thank also Witman for you sharing what the story of poverty elimination in China and the issues coming from there, especially also what efficiency and transparency of government is concerned. I think this is an open and multi-perspective story on this. I want to thank very much Rahat for coming back and telling his story on Bangladesh and giving us this kind of view. I want to thank Jatin you for showing us a very broad perspective, especially also the issue of how to learn the language of social entrepreneurship. That's something very important. I want to thank Arum. I hope that she will get in touch with people in Qatar and use the social franchising of WSA. Damian, for you to help us with envisioning how to move ahead, and especially also Saba for you to share with us your story. And we hope to be part and supporting your ongoing journey. Thank you all for listening to this panel, Connect for Impact, Asia and Oceania. My name is Peter Bruck. I'm the chairman of WSA, and I welcome you to the next session. Thank you very much, and talk to you soon. Bye.